Ladies and gentlemen, I take pride in introducing the greatest show on earth.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Uncle Floyd Show podcast number 36. I'm Scott Gordon, and I will be your host for this time. I went to see Floyd on Wednesday afternoon, and he was kind of busy. So we did get a chance to talk for a little while. We'll get into that later. We'll play some of the questions and answers that you people were kind enough to send in for him. If you'd like to send questions in, you can send them into me. I get them directly at ufpodcast@sge-inc.com. That's ufpodcast@sge-inc.com. And I print them out and I take them in and read them to Floyd, and Floyd and I answer them for you. But since our time was very short when I visited him on Wednesday, I decided to take that segment, which is a short segment. I'll put that in later at the end of this. And someone sent in a question just for me. It's Mark McKeon from Old Tappan, now Milford, Pennsylvania. He says, in the last podcast, you mentioned growing up in Mahwah, the Ford plant, your dad driving Ford police cars. Can you tell us about growing up in Mahwah? Well, Mark, okay, I'll be glad to. I moved to Mahwah when I was 13 years old. I was actually born in Dumont, New Jersey, and spent the first years of my life in Oradell, New Jersey. We lived there until December of 1963, and my father was originally a police officer in Oradell. He became a Bergen County police officer in about 1957, 58, and we lived there in Oradell for a long time. My dad actually built the house that we lived in. And we just had a great time there. And it was in December of 1963 when my father discovered that there was a big open house. It was a house that was empty, that was on the property of the Immaculate Conception Roman Catholic Seminary in Mahwah. And they needed a guy who would run their security. So to add a second job, or as we call it today, a side hustle, he decided that he would move the entire family to Mahwah, New Jersey, and we live in a house on the grounds of the Immaculate Conception Seminary, which was along Route 202 in Mahwah. So we moved up there, and it was an old farmhouse that was built pre-Revolutionary War. And it had amazing, amazing things. It had a dirt basement. It had a garage that was actually an old milking machine place. It was steam-driven milking machines. The rollers for the belts that made these things work were still in the roof of the garage. And that's where we were. The Catholic Church totally refurbished the house for us while we were living in it. One of the walls in the house was actually put in there by the Native Americans in the area, and it was made of mud, clay, and pig hair instead of the standard kind of wallboard that you see today. So it was an adventure, so to speak. So the year after we moved up there, 1964, I was a big fan of music that my parents listened to on WNEW AM, and I knew the music of Les Paul and Mary Ford. And I discovered that Les Paul and Mary Ford lived down the road. They actually lived in Mahwah, about a mile and a half south of us on off of Route 202 in a section called Deer Haven. Now, me being the pain in the neck kid that I was, I figured out that I could, although I was forbidden to ride my bicycle on Route 202, I was allowed to ride my bicycle through the woods. I found the way down along the Ramapo River, the banks of the Ramapo River, down Route 202, getting down to the Deer Haven section and finding Les Paul's house one afternoon. I went up the driveway, Saturday late morning, knocked on the door and said, "Hi, Mr. Paul," when he answered the door. "My name's Scott. I live down the road, and I wanted to know if you need your studio swept out or anything." He looked at me, and he said to me, "You know anything about the guitar?" I said, "I play a little bit," which I did. He said, "Okay, kid, come on in." And he took me in. I swept out the studio, and I spent many years on Saturday afternoons going up to Les Paul's house and talking to him and learning and everything I know about electronics. I learned at the hand of Les Paul and reading books and other things like that. And went to Mahwah High School. Went there starting in 9th grade, starting as a freshman, and graduated in 1967. And that's the basis of my my Mahwah background. There's a lot more to tell about that. A lot more very interesting stories that could probably get me in a lot of trouble if I told them. Maybe get other people in some trouble. But, all right, I'll tell one of them. In a section of Mahwah called Airmont, which was around where you could go into New York State. It was in the easternmost section of Mahwah. And you could cross over into New York State. And on the other side, on the left, there was a very small delicatessen. It's run by a guy with extremely thick glasses. And as a 16-year-old, you could ride your bicycle up there. The guy's vision was so bad that when he asked you for ID to buy beer, you could show him a jack of diamonds. He'd look at it and go, "Okay," and sell you the beer. And that's how all of us at Mahwah High School got our beer when we were 16 years old, riding on bicycles and buying it. He never questions the fact that we were on bicycles. He never came out of the store. But that's that. All right. Right now, going to go switch over to my short conversation with Floyd. When we were done, the medics came in and interrupted us. And he had stuff to do to help him heal. So we got a very short session in, and here it follows right now. So here we are with the Uncle Floyd podcast number 36. I'm Scott Gordon. I'm here with Uncle Floyd. Say hi to the folks, Uncle Floyd.
Hello, folks.
And we got some questions. Some of them pretty good. This one's from Michael Lepowski. Says his favorite Italian dish is veal parm with a side of pasta. What's yours?
I'm coming for dinner with him.
You're coming for dinner with him? What's your favorite Italian dish?
Italian pasta.
He says, I'll bet your mom made really great food.
She did.
What kind of stuff did she make?
Eggplant parmesan.
Oh, I love eggplant parmesan. I think that's one of the best things in the world. Now, question. Did she cut it so it's round or it's long when she cut the eggplant?
Long.
I think that's my favorite way. Never really liked it cut where it was round. Our buddy Dennis DeLeo writes, he says, "Hi, Floyd. When your children were small, did any of them ever express a desire to go into show business?"
Yes, they did. I knocked the sense out of him.
He also would like to know what kind of advice would you give a young person today who may want to try their hand at comedy or acting?
Trust your instincts.
If I was going to give advice, one of the things I would say is get out and do. Go out and act. Get into a comedy club. Fail if you have to. You learn more from failing than you do from anything else in this business. It teaches you what not to do, and it teaches you what rhythm to have. You would like to know if you would ever host a Saturday Night Live if you were asked.
I'd be there with bells on.
Susie Tannenbaum. Susie says, what in your view makes a great entertainer?
Honesty.
That's very important, being honest with your audience. You know, you can be fake comedically if that fakeness is exposing an honesty. That's my opinion. And here's a very interesting question from Kevin Dillon. He says, Floyd, the first time I saw you live was the spring of 1981 at the Brooklyn College Whitman Theater. Do you have any memories of that show? That was the show that almost didn't happen.
Why, Scott? I forget why.
Because they had a sign up that said, no food or drink. And I was sitting in the wings. A lot of people don't know I'm a serious diabetic. And I hadn't eaten that day. And I had a bag from McDonald's that I had to eat something or I would have had a problem. And the stage manager came over and wanted to kick me out of the theater.
The Whitman Auditorium.
You came up to him and said, what's the problem here? He says, you can't have food here. He's got to leave. He's got to leave. And you walked over to your suitcase and started packing stuff up. He said, well, then you better tell that sold-out audience that there's not going to be a show tonight, because if he leaves, we all leave. And then you can explain to them why they're not getting a show because of you, and deal with it. The guy changed his tune very quick. You remember all that?
Vaguely.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
You got a lot on your mind.
Yeah, too bad it's not an honest thought. We thank everybody for coming, and we'll see you next time. Say goodbye to the folks, Floyd.
Goodbye, folks. Don't forget, we have a date next Tuesday at 8.
That is for This Was the Uncle Floyd Show. And that you can find by going to theunclefloydshow.tv. That's theunclefloydshow.tv, where we show clips of the show, and we talk about it, and I answer your questions. I'm there live, hosting it live, showing the clips. And come back for the next Uncle Floyd podcast, right here on your favorite podcast place. If you want to send a question in, just send it to ufpodcast@sge-inc.com. That's ufpodcast@sge-inc.com. Bring them in here and read them, and Floyd and I answer them up for you.
This program was produced in the studios of Scott Gordon Enterprises, Incorporated in Paramus, New Jersey.